All right, so I'm wrapping up the ceiling, at least the first half of the ceiling over here. And we've got this last piece to put in, which is gonna need to be scribed to this wall on the left. So quick tutorial on scribing. You gotta find one point where you know exactly how thick the final piece is going to need to be. So behind this piece that I just temporarily brad nailed in place, there's a gap between this piece and the wall that's 3 3/8 inches. So in this section, the final piece is gonna need to be 3 3/8 inches right here in this spot. Now it's gonna change at the bottom and at the top, but here it's 3 3/8, so I mark that. Then I need to make sure that the right side of this last piece lines up perfectly with the left side, left edge of this piece. So I made sure that this edge is perfect distance from this edge all the way from the top of the piece to the bottom of the piece. So that's about 2.5 inches strong. So now that that's lined up equally, whatever material I end up scribing off of this left side, this side is always going to be parallel with this line. And then to set my scribes, I like the old school ones. I've seen a bunch of different ones, but these are just like brass, like a compass from elementary school. And I basically just set them to one point that I know is accurate, which is this one point right here. And it's a little wider than I typically would like it, but I'm working overhead, so I'm trying to make it work here. Because I like if I can lay this left hand flat, then I know I'm consistent all the way up. It definitely makes it tougher with these grooves too. So I might pause this video and actually make a block, and we'll go from there. Okay, so this is kind of situational, but I cut a block that goes exactly where that mark is. This is just a secondary method that I use for scribing. And now wherever I move this block along this wall, and it kind of helps get over the grooves a little bit too. If I'm dragging my pencil on this inside edge, I can follow that line, and that'll give me my cut line to take material off the left side of this piece and fit it tightly to the wall. So let me try to put this. This is why I gotta get those spectacles. I'm not sure the reviews are great though. That phone's gonna fall. But real quick, this is what we're doing. Tight to the wall. Drawing a line. And this material here is getting removed, and that'll be the final piece, all the way top to bottom. Drag that block all the way top to bottom, and as you can see, it shows our original layout when we started on that side of the ceiling ended up being pretty good. We're gonna have about 3.5 inches on this final piece all the way up until the end. It the wall bends and it increases to like 4 inches, 4 1/8. But there's nothing we can do about that. So this piece is too long for my table saw that's set up in a bedroom downstairs. So we're gonna cut this with a skill saw. Don't tape the guard back like that, that's done. See how it goes. So, one little trick, if you couldn't tell, is angling your saw a little bit like that, because this is going to be the edge once it flips upside down that you're going to see connecting with the wall. So it'll just make the joint that much tighter if you hold your saw a little bit tilted that way. But as you can see, it doesn't have to be perfect, but you know, just slow and steady, stay along the pencil mark. All right, I'm sweating, but last piece is in, and I mean, came out perfect. Super tight. I had to, you know, hammer it in there with a block, and it took a little bit of a beating. If anything, it's too tight, but I'm happy with it. The only issue right there is that I was kind of banging in the tongue and groove at the bottom, working my way up, and by the time I get to the top, it caught the groove on this right-hand piece here and cracked it. And I tried to wiggle it out as much as I could, but you know, the damage is done. It's in there too tight for me to do anything about it now. It's just something I'll point out to the painter. You know, luckily it's high up in the ceiling. Some Bondo and sanding it down, it'll come out good, but you know, overall, you know, happy with how it came out. Definitely one of those situations where it proves having a helping hand would be ideal. But hey, first section of the ceiling done. And now I'm on to this section over here. Important to line up these grooves, the V grooves, with this wall and the ceiling. So I just scribed this one, and basically, you know, it was bumped out a little bit like that. I needed to make sure that the V groove lined up perfectly, so I just took that amount that I needed to move it over, made sure this was level. It ended up just being about, you know, 1/8 of an inch to 3/16, but making sure that when I scribed it, it was going to be level, which it is. And now that lines up perfectly, and ideally the whole way across. It'll line up nice like that.